Welcome, dear listener. Tonight we drift gently into the quiet corridors of the past, where shadows of time still whisper through the stones of forgotten kitchens, and where the crackling of fire once warmed the hands of medieval families. But let me ask you something curious. Did you know that many people in the Middle Ages lived long lives, some reaching 100 years, even 150, sustained not by modern diets, but by simple foods drawn from earth, field, and hearth? What was it, you might wonder, that gave their bodies such strength, their spirits such endurance, and their days such rhythm of survival? Tonight, we uncover that mystery together, walking slowly into the dining halls of kings, into the humble kitchens of peasants, and into the bustling marketplaces of medieval towns, to discover what people truly ate in the Middle Ages. Before we begin this gentle journey, I invite you, dear listener, to like this story, to leave a comment about where you are listening from, and to subscribe, so that you may never miss another quiet voyage into history's embrace. Now, let us softly open the doors and step inside the world of medieval food, where bread, broth, herbs, and honey wait to tell us their age-old tale. As we step gently into the heart of the Middle Ages, imagine the sound of footsteps on worn stone floors, echoing softly through the corridors of time. The world then was slower, quieter, bound to the rhythm of nature, and nowhere was that rhythm felt more strongly than in the meals people shared. Food was more than sustenance. It was survival, it was culture, and it was comfort against the long, cold nights of history. For the common folk, meals were often simple, yet filled with meaning. Bread, dark and heavy, made from rye or barley, was the center of daily life. It was not the soft white bread we know today, but dense, coarse, and sometimes mixed with oats or peas. A loaf could last a family for days, each slice dipped into broth or eaten with a bit of cheese when fortune allowed. Imagine sitting near the warm glow of a fire, the smell of baking bread filling a cottage, as a mother shares a humble peace with her children, her hands rough from labor, yet steady with love. Soups and stews were another constant. They bubbled slowly in iron pots, hung above the hearth, flavored with onions, leeks, or cabbage, thickened with lentils or beans, and seasoned with herbs gathered from gardens or hedgerows. Meat was rare for peasants, but bones or scraps could lend flavor to the broth. Sometimes salted fish, like herring, would find its way into the pot, brought from distant coasts, traded across towns and villages. Imagine the steam rising, the smell drifting through the air, filling the home with warmth and promise of nourishment. For those of higher rank, the story was different. Lords and ladies feasted in great halls, their long wooden tables lit by torches and candles. Platters of roasted meats were brought forth, beef, pork, venison, even swan or peacock for the grandest occasions. Spices, rare and costly, were sprinkled over dishes: cinnamon, cloves, saffron, and pepper, each one a treasure from distant lands. Wine flowed from jugs into goblets, while music from minstrels softened the air. These feasts were not just about eating, but about showing wealth and power. Each dish a statement, each flavor a reminder of the world beyond the castle walls. Yet between rich and poor, one thread tied them together: the cycle of the seasons. Spring brought fresh greens and herbs after the long hunger of winter. Summer gave fruits, berries, and vegetables. Autumn filled the barns with grain, the cellars with apples, and the jars with honey. Winter was the hardest time, when salted or dried food was all that remained, when every meal was a test of endurance. Picture, if you will, the flicker of firelight on a wooden bowl, a child blowing gently on a spoonful of hot broth, the sound of laughter mingling with the wind outside. Food in the Middle Ages was not only about survival, but about connection between families, between communities, between the living and the land itself. And so, as we walk slowly through this world, we begin to see that each meal was a story, each bite a memory, each table a gathering place where time itself seemed to pause. Step with me now into the bustling marketplace of a medieval town, where the air is thick with the mingled scents of baked bread, dried fish, fresh herbs, and earthy vegetables. Merchants call out from wooden stalls, their voices rising like waves, each one offering goods from nearby villages or distant lands. Imagine the clatter of hooves on cobblestone, the laughter of children weaving between shoppers, the creak of carts heavy with produce. This was where food connected the countryside with the heart of the town, where the harvest of many hands found its way to the tables of many more. In one corner of the market, a baker arranges loaves of rye and barley bread. Some are round and heavy, others flat and thin, each marked with the imprint of his craft. Bread was so central to life that it was often called the staff of life. Without it, a family felt hunger gnawing quickly. Yet bread came in many forms: fine white loaves for the wealthy, coarse dark loaves for the poor. Even within a single town, bread told the story of wealth and station. Not far from the baker stands a fishmonger, his stall shaded with cloth to keep the sun at bay. Barrels of salted herring, dried cod, and smoked eels are arranged in neat rows. Fish was deeply important, not only because rivers and seas provided it, but because the church required people to fast from meat on many days of the year. On Fridays during Lent and on holy days, fish replaced meat at countless tables. Imagine families unwrapping a salted herring, soaking it overnight, and then stewing it with onions or cabbage. The salty tang, mixed with humble herbs, made a dish both filling and acceptable to faith. Across the square, a spice merchant draws curious glances. His goods come not from the local fields, but from caravans and ships traveling along the Silk Road. Small sacks of cinnamon, ginger, pepper, saffron, and nutmeg glimmer like treasure under the morning light. These spices were precious, sometimes worth their weight in gold. To sprinkle cinnamon on roasted meat or to color a dish with saffron was to show wealth and refinement. For the common folk, such flavors were rare dreams, but for the lords and ladies, they were a mark of elegance and pride. Fruits and vegetables filled the markets as well, depending on the season. In summer, baskets overflowed with cherries, strawberries, apples, and pears. In autumn, turnips, carrots, and cabbages piled high, their colors rich against the wooden tables. Nuts, too, were gathered and sold, hazelnuts, walnuts, and chestnuts, each offering nourishment that could last through the cold months. Honey was another treasure, golden and thick, drawn from hives kept carefully in villages. It sweetened drinks, preserved fruits, and healed wounds, its uses as varied as the lives it touched. Milk and cheese found their place as well. Cows, sheep, and goats gave milk, but fresh milk was difficult to keep from spoiling, so it was turned into butter or cheese, lasting longer and traveling further. Imagine a wheel of cheese slowly aging in a cellar, its flavor deepening with time, waiting to be cut and shared. Butter, rich and golden, was spread on bread or melted into porridges, a taste of comfort against the sharp winds of winter. Yet while the market was filled with plenty, not all could afford its delights. Many peasants lived on what they grew themselves, bartering when possible, stretching their harvests through lean times. The marketplace was a dream of abundance, but often it was a reminder of what could not be reached. Still, it was here that people gathered, shared news, laughed, and felt the pulse of life. Close your eyes and imagine walking through such a market, the hum of voices, the smell of herbs, the rough feel of wooden stalls beneath your fingers. Imagine holding a small loaf of bread, warm and fragrant, or watching a child nibble on an apple, juice running down their chin. In these moments, the Middle Ages come alive not in books, but in senses, in tastes, in smells that linger on the air. Food was not only eaten, it was experienced, lived, and remembered. Every meal, whether from the market or the hearth, tied people to their time, their place, and each other. And as the sun lowered on these busy towns, baskets emptied, stalls closed, and families returned home, carrying with them the simple promise of nourishment and togetherness. As the marketplace quiets and the last voices fade into the evening air, we follow the people of the Middle Ages back into their homes, into cottages of wattle and daub, into wooden halls warmed by the glow of hearth fires. Here, the day's purchases and harvests are turned into meals, humble or grand, yet always a reflection of the rhythms of survival. For the peasant family, the evening meal was often the heart of the day. Bread, once again, formed its foundation, torn into chunks and dipped into a steaming pottage. This pottage was a thick stew of grains and vegetables, sometimes flavored with a scrap of bacon or a few drops of oil. Into the bubbling pot went whatever the garden or field offered, leeks, onions, beans, or peas. It was a dish that could stretch to feed many mouths, filling bellies even when meat was scarce. The slow simmering of pottage gave comfort, its familiar scent drifting through small homes as children gathered close to the warmth of the fire. In noble households, evenings unfolded in striking contrast. Long tables were set with trenchers, thick slices of bread that served as plates. Upon these, servants placed roasted meats, pies stuffed with spiced fillings, and delicate pastries. Musicians played softly in the corner while laughter and conversation filled the hall. Lords and ladies reclined, attended by pages and cupbearers, their cups brimming with wine or ale. Spices transformed the flavors of their meals, hiding the saltiness of preserved meat or lifting the sweetness of fruit into something rich and exotic. A noble feast was not only about taste, but spectacle, a show of wealth that bound together guests, allies, and families. Yet even here, the seasons could not be ignored. In winter, when the earth was bare, salted meats and dried beans dominated the table. Barrels of ale, brewed in autumn, were tapped, their froth spilling into waiting cups. In spring, fresh greens brought new life, nettles and spinach gathered to brighten the table. In summer, milk was plentiful, churned into butter or pressed into cheese, while autumn returned its bounty of apples, pears, and grapes. Each household, rich or poor, lived by these patterns, storing carefully, rationing wisely, hoping the supplies would last until the next harvest. Drinks, too, played their part in medieval meals. Water was often unsafe, so ale and beer were brewed at home, even by peasants. This ale was low in alcohol but safe to drink, nourishing for both children and adults. For the wealthy, wine was the drink of choice, imported from faraway vineyards, its cost a reminder of distance and trade. Honeyed mead lingered as well, a drink tied to ancient traditions, golden and sweet, sipped slowly by candlelight. Festive days broke the routine, and these moments became treasured memories. On feast days, tables overflowed with richer foods, roast goose, fresh bread, sweet tarts filled with berries, spiced cakes. Villagers might share a roasted pig or come together to brew stronger ale. The church calendar, filled with holy days, gave rhythm to such celebrations, times when even the poorest might taste a little luxury. These feasts were more than meals. They were moments of joy, of togetherness, of release from the weight of daily toil. Imagine now a family gathered in a humble cottage, the fire casting golden light upon the faces of children. A pot of pottage steams gently, and the father slices a loaf of bread, his hand steady, though worn. Outside, the night deepens. The wind carries the scent of earth and smoke, yet inside, warmth and unity prevail. Across the countryside, in a castle hall, a lord raises his goblet. Music plays, laughter rises, and roasted meat crackles on the spit. Different worlds, yet tied by the same truth. Food was the heart of life, the rhythm of existence. And as candles burned lower and firelight dimmed, meals gave way to silence, to prayer, to rest. Stomachs filled, hearts settled, and people of the Middle Ages drifted into dreams, knowing that tomorrow would bring new labor, new hunger, and once again the comfort of food. The story of medieval food cannot be told without speaking of the kitchen itself, that quiet heart of every home and hall. Step with me now into the smoky warmth of a medieval kitchen. Picture a wide-open hearth, flames crackling beneath iron pots and cauldrons. The air is filled with the scent of wood smoke, mingled with the aromas of onions, herbs, and bread slowly rising. Shadows dance across stone walls as the fire glows, and the steady rhythm of chopping, stirring, and grinding creates a gentle song of labor. For the peasant household, the kitchen was not a separate room, but the very center of life. The hearth gave heat, light, and food. Mothers tended pots while children fetched water from wells, while fathers might mend tools or slice vegetables for the evening meal. A single cauldron could hold stew that lasted days, each day replenished with fresh grains or greens, stretching the dish to feed all mouths. Wooden spoons stirred the bubbling mixture, and wooden bowls were passed from hand to hand, each one carved and worn by years of use. In noble houses, kitchens were larger, busier, almost like small worlds of their own. Servants hurried with baskets of vegetables, sides of meat, and bundles of herbs. Great spits turned slowly, roasting whole animals over open fires, their fat dripping into trays that hissed with steam. Ovens baked bread and pastries, while stone mortars ground spices into fine powders. Cooks shouted orders. Apprentices carried trays, and the air was alive with movement. Yet beneath the noise there was always the steady heartbeat of fire, constant and faithful. Cooking tools told their own story. Iron cauldrons, heavy and blackened, swung from chains above the flames. Clay pots simmered gently along the edges, their contents bubbling quietly. Knives, large and small, hung from wooden racks, their blades glinting in the firelight. Trenchers, those thick slices of bread that served as plates, lay stacked beside loaves, ready to carry rich sauces and meats. Everything was used, nothing wasted, each tool and each dish shaped by necessity and care. Salt, too, deserves a moment in this tale. Salt was not simply seasoning, it was life itself. It preserved meat and fish, keeping them edible through the long months of winter. It flavored otherwise bland stews and porridges. Entire towns grew wealthy from the salt trade, their roads echoing with carts heavy with white crystals. Imagine the relief of a family opening a barrel of salted pork in January, the sharp scent reminding them of the harvest months gone by. Salt was survival, a treasure as important as gold. For drink, aloe was brewed in many homes. Barley, water, and yeast combined into a mild, nourishing beverage, safer than plain water. In villages, women often brewed ale, and each household kept a steady supply. In wealthier halls, wine was stored in cool cellars, its deep flavor poured generously at feasts. Mead, sweet with honey, offered warmth and cheer. These drinks were not only for celebration, but for daily life, part of every meal, part of every rhythm. The taste of meals varied greatly between rich and poor, but both shared the reliance on what the earth provided. Herbs like parsley, sage, rosemary, and thyme grew in gardens, offering flavor and healing alike. Garlic and onions, strong and simple, flavored countless stews. For those who could afford it, exotic spices transformed ordinary meat into wonders. For those who could not, the familiar green herbs of the field gave comfort and strength. Imagine the scene, dear listener. In a small cottage, a mother ladles steaming pottage into wooden bowls, her children smiling as they huddle close to the warmth of the fire. Far away, in a great castle, servants carry trays of roasted venison to long tables, where lords and ladies laugh beneath flickering candlelight. Two worlds divided by wealth, yet bound by the same need, the same comfort. Food that fills the belly, food that warms the soul, and as the night deepens, the last embers glow in the hearth. The day's labor is complete, the bowls are empty, the spoons set aside. Families murmur prayers of thanks. Nobles raise goblets in final toasts. In every home, the quiet after meals is the same. A moment of stillness, of peace, before sleep takes hold and dreams carry them into another day. As the night settles over the medieval village, the flickering candlelight and the soft glow of the hearth tell their own story. Even in the quiet moments, food remains at the center of life. It shapes routines, comforts the weary, and sustains both body and spirit. Imagine the villagers climbing the steps to their modest homes, baskets in hand, the aroma of freshly baked bread still clinging to their clothes, the faint scent of herbs trailing behind them like a whisper of the day's labor. In the simplest cottages, families prepare for their evening meal with careful attention. A pot of pottage, thick with grains and vegetables, simmers steadily, sending tendrils of steam into the air. Children gather around, eager to dip their wooden spoons, their eyes bright with anticipation. Even the humblest portions of food are shared with joy, each bite a reminder of connection, survival, and the rhythm of daily life. Sometimes a scrap of salted pork or a handful of dried beans is added, a small luxury that turns an ordinary meal into something special. Meanwhile, in castle kitchens, the scene is much grander, a symphony of activity and purpose. Cooks move quickly, adjusting fires and turning spits, ensuring that meats roast evenly, that sauces thicken just so, that pies do not burn. Servants carry baskets of fresh bread, of fruit and vegetables, to the long tables where lords and ladies await. Spices, carefully measured, are added to dishes, transforming simple ingredients into something extraordinary. The rich smell of roasting meat, of sweetened tarts, fills the hall, mingling with the soft music of lutes and the gentle chatter of noble guests. Seasonality continues to guide the menu. Spring brings tender greens and fresh herbs, while summer offers fruits and vegetables in abundance. Autumn delivers the richness of root vegetables, the crispness of apples, and the sweetness of honey. Winter is a time of preservation. Salted meats, dried fruits, and hearty grains that will carry the household through the cold months. Each meal, whatever its form, is an expression of the cycle of the seasons, of the labor and patience required to turn the earth's bounty into nourishment. Dairy products remain a staple in many homes. Milk, when fresh, is often turned into butter or cheese, providing a long-lasting source of protein and fat. Imagine a wheel of cheese resting in a cool cellar, slowly aging, its flavor deepening day by day, ready to be sliced and shared at the evening meal. Butter, golden and creamy, spreads over bread or melts into steaming porridge, offering warmth and sustenance during the long, cold nights. In addition to meals, beverages play a crucial role. Ale, brewed at home or purchased from a local tavern, provides a safe and nourishing drink for both adults and children. Its gentle flavor carries calories and warmth, replacing water that may be unsafe to drink. In wealthier households, wine complements the table, poured from elegant jugs into goblets, its presence a sign of status and refinement. Honeyed mead lingers as a special treat, a golden reminder of simpler sweetness, often enjoyed slowly after the meal, warming the throat and the heart alike. Imagine walking through a medieval home just after the evening meal. The fire crackles in the hearth, casting shadows on the walls. The air smells faintly of herbs, bread, and smoked meat. Families converse softly, finishing the last bites of their modest supper. Children stretch and yawn, the day's labors leaving them tired but content. Even in the grand halls, after the lavish feasts, a similar quiet descends. Goblets are emptied, plates cleared, servants withdraw, and a calm settles over the great stone walls. In every corner of the medieval world, from simple cottages to stately castles, food is a constant companion, shaping the rhythms of life. It is both necessity and comfort, both routine and celebration. And as night deepens and sleep approaches, the stories of the day's meals linger, wrapping the people in warmth, filling bellies, and preparing hearts for dreams yet to come. As the night deepens, let us imagine the quiet corners of the medieval countryside, where the last fires burn low and the sounds of the day give way to a gentle stillness. In cottages tucked between fields, families sit close to the hearth, sharing stories and warmth as the shadows stretch across the walls. Evenings are slow, measured, and filled with the subtle comforts of home. The smell of bread, the steam rising from a pot of pottage, the soft murmur of conversation as everyone settles in for the night. In these simple homes, every ingredient tells a story. Grain, harvested in late summer and stored carefully, becomes bread and porridge. Vegetables from small gardens, onions, leeks, beans, cabbage, are turned into nourishing stews that stretch to feed the family for several days. Occasionally, a small piece of meat or a few fish from a nearby stream adds flavor and sustenance. Though these luxuries are rare for peasants, each meal reflects the rhythm of labor, the patience of the seasons, and the enduring connection between people and the land they cultivate. Contrast this with the kitchens of nobility, where preparation is a performance. Servants move swiftly through spacious rooms, tending large cauldrons and turning spits over roaring fires. Trays of roasted meats, spiced pies, and sweet pastries are brought forth to impress the assembled guests. The table is a stage, and every dish contributes to the story being told of wealth, power, and prestige. Yet, even in these halls, the food connects people, weaving together families, allies, and friends around shared feasts, laughter, and conversation. The role of spices in these meals cannot be overstated. Pepper, cinnamon, saffron, cloves, and ginger traveled thousands of miles to reach the kitchens of medieval Europe, transforming ordinary meats and pastries into exotic delights. The cost of these spices meant they were mostly enjoyed by the wealthy, a symbol of status and worldly knowledge. Meanwhile, the common folk relied on herbs and garden-grown flavors like parsley, thyme, sage, and garlic, which gave life to humble dishes. Both approaches reflect creativity, resourcefulness, and a deep understanding of the ingredients available. Let us not forget the importance of preservation. Salted meats and fish, dried grains, and pickled vegetables allowed families to survive through long winters. Barrels of ale or wine provided hydration and nutrition when fresh water might be unsafe. Honey preserved fruits and added sweetness to otherwise simple meals. Every method of preservation demonstrates careful planning, hard work, and an intimate knowledge of the cycles of nature. These practices ensured that even during lean times, there was always something to eat, something to sustain body and spirit. Imagine walking through the village after supper. The streets are quiet, except for the distant barking of a dog or the soft steps of a night traveler. Smoke rises from chimneys, carrying the scent of evening meals into the star-filled sky. Families retire to their beds, lulled by the comfort of full stomachs and the safety of home. In castles, the sound of music fades, servants finish their tasks, and a calm descends over stone walls that have witnessed centuries of feasts and fasting. Food in the Middle Ages was never merely sustenance, it was connection. It tied people to the earth, to their neighbors, to their families, and to the rhythms of life itself. Every loaf of bread, every bowl of stew, every roasted bird told a story. And as the world outside grew dark and silent, these stories wrapped each household in warmth and comfort. The night held promise, not just of sleep, but of another day where the cycle of work, harvest, and nourishment would continue, unbroken and enduring. As dawn approaches, the first pale light stretches across the medieval village, brushing rooftops and fields with gentle warmth. Even before the sun fully rises, the smell of bread baking in cottages drifts through the air. mingling with the earthy scent of soil and morning dew. Families begin to stir, roused by the soft sounds of roosters crowing and the distant bleating of sheep. The rhythm of daily life resumes, and with it, the preparation of breakfast, the first meal that sets the tone for the labor and challenges ahead. For peasants, breakfast was simple yet vital. A slice of yesterday's bread, dipped in ale or eaten with a small piece of cheese, provided energy for the long hours of work in the fields. Sometimes a porridge of oats or barley, thickened with milk or water, offered warmth and sustenance before a day of sowing, harvesting, or tending livestock. Each bite was practical, filling, and made from what the land and careful storage could provide. Families ate together where they could, sharing the quiet intimacy of the early morning, knowing that soon each person would be occupied with their tasks. In wealthier households, the morning meal could be more elaborate. Bread, fresh from the oven, was served alongside fruits, nuts, and sometimes pastry sweetened with honey. Dairy products like butter and cheese were plentiful, and ale or wine might accompany the meal even at the earliest hour. Servants bustled about, ensuring that each member of the household had what they needed to begin the day. The rich scent of roasting meats or frying eggs could fill the air, a gentle reminder of abundance, preparation, and the artistry of cooking in larger kitchens. Yet in every home, no matter the wealth, the essence of food remained the same. It connected people to their work, to each other, and to the land. Herbs from small gardens, parsley, sage, thyme, were chopped and added to meals, offering both flavor and healing. Root vegetables, often harvested in late autumn, were stored carefully and prepared in a variety of ways to nourish families throughout the winter. Fish from rivers and streams, salted and preserved, provided protein when meat was scarce. The food of the Middle Ages reflected ingenuity, resourcefulness, and the deep bond between humans and their environment. Markets and taverns also played an essential role in shaping the medieval diet. Villagers and townspeople traveled to markets to barter or purchase goods, from fresh bread and vegetables to salted meats, cheeses, and honey. Taverns offered simple meals and drinks for travelers or laborers, a place to rest and regain strength. Each transaction, each shared meal, reinforced community ties and provided an understanding of the value of resources, trade, and cooperation. Seasonal rhythms continued to dominate life. Spring brought fresh greens and herbs. Summer offered fruits and vegetables in abundance. Autumn provided nuts, grains, and preserved foods. And winter relied on stored staples and preserved meats. This cycle was unyielding, shaping the daily routines, the festivals, and the very survival of people across Europe. Meals were both ordinary and extraordinary, simple yet steeped in meaning, connecting generations across centuries. Imagine now a small peasant family eating quietly in the early morning, the aroma of freshly baked bread mingling with the crisp air. A noble family begins their day in contrast, with sunlight reflecting off polished tables and silver goblets. Servants moving efficiently through the halls. Two worlds divided by wealth, yet united by the essential, enduring rhythm of eating, preparing, and sharing food. Each day begins with nourishment. Each day continues with labor, and each evening returns to warmth rest, and the quiet satisfaction of a meal shared. As the morning unfolds into the full light of day, the medieval village comes alive with the sounds and smells of work and sustenance. Children run along dusty paths, carrying water or helping gather herbs, while adults tend to fields, livestock, and gardens. Even in the humblest homes, the preparation of food is constant, a reflection of the unending cycle that defines life. Every meal, no matter how simple, is a labor of care and a mark of connection to the earth. In peasant homes, midday often brings the largest meal of the day. Families gather around wooden tables, bowls steaming with pottage, thick and hearty with grains and vegetables. On rare occasions, a bit of meat or fish is added, turning an ordinary stew into a treasured treat. Bread accompanies every dish, torn by hand and shared among all, its weight and texture grounding the meal. Children dip their pieces of bread into the bubbling pot, savoring each bite. The taste is simple yet comforting, flavored by herbs grown nearby or gathered from hedgerows. Noble households observe a different rhythm. Banquets and midday meals can be elaborate affairs, prepared by teams of skilled cooks. Roasted meats, pies filled with spiced fillings, fresh fruits, cheeses, and sweetened pastries decorate long tables. Wine flows in goblets, and the air is filled with conversation and laughter. The meals of the wealthy are both sustenance and spectacle, a reflection of status, refinement, and the artistry of culinary tradition. Yet, even here, the essence of food remains: connection, nourishment, and the satisfaction of sharing. The use of herbs and spices is a story in itself. Parsley, thyme, sage, and garlic bring life to humble dishes, while pepper, cinnamon, saffron, and cloves transform meat and pastries into exotic delicacies. Spices travel across continents, their rarity making them treasures. Herbs, however, are abundant and practical, offering both flavor and medicinal value. Each meal, whether simple or grand, reflects the knowledge, skill, and care of those preparing it. Drinks accompany meals in every home. Ale is a staple for peasants, providing both hydration and calories. It is mild, safe to drink, and brewed with care in household or village breweries. Wine is common in noble houses, sometimes imported from distant regions, its taste and color enhancing every dish. Mead, made from honey, offers sweetness and warmth, a small indulgence savored slowly. The ritual of drinking, as much as eating, binds people together, reinforcing social bonds and marking moments of rest and celebration. Seasonal rhythms continue to dictate the availability of food. Spring brings tender greens and fresh herbs. Summer offers fruits and vegetables. Autumn delivers grains, nuts, and preserved foods, and winter relies on stored staples, salted meats, and dried goods. Preservation techniques are essential for survival. Salting, smoking, drying, and pickling ensure that even during lean months, there is sustenance. Families rely on their knowledge of these methods to carry them through the harsh seasons, bridging the gap between harvests with ingenuity and care. Picture the scene. A peasant family pauses for their midday meal, the sun high overhead, the smell of cooking filling the air. Nearby, a noble household enjoys a more sumptuous spread, with servants moving efficiently, ensuring that every dish is served at the proper moment. Despite the differences in wealth, both experiences share the same fundamental purpose: nourishment, comfort, and a rhythm that sustains life. Each bite tells a story, each meal a reflection of the labor and care that sustains people across time. As the day continues, the labor resumes, but the memory of the meal lingers, providing energy, warmth, and satisfaction. In the Middle Ages, as now, food is more than sustenance. It is the thread that connects generations, the bond that ties families together, and the quiet anchor of daily life. Every day begins and ends with it, a constant reminder of survival, community, and the enduring power of nourishment. As afternoon settles over the medieval village, the warmth of the sun touches the rooftops and fields, and the rhythm of daily life continues. Villagers tend to their crops, feeding livestock and carrying water from wells. In every home, food remains central, not only as nourishment, but as a reflection of care, tradition, and survival. Even the smallest meal is a testament to human ingenuity and the deep connection between people and the land. For peasants, the afternoon meal might be lighter than the midday feast, but still sustaining. A bowl of pottage or porridge, bread, and sometimes a piece of cheese or fruit from the garden provides the energy needed for afternoon work. The cooking is simple but thoughtful, often flavored with herbs like parsley, thyme, or onions. Each bite carries the effort of labor, the gift of the soil, and the quiet joy of sharing. Children pause in their tasks to eat, their laughter mingling with the chirping of birds and the distant sounds of carts along the village paths. In noble houses, the afternoon might include smaller refreshments, sometimes a light repast of bread, fruit, or pastries, accompanied by wine or ale. Servants ensure that the table is always prepared, that dishes are replenished, and that the household maintains its rhythm of service. Kitchens bustle with preparation for the evening meal, adjusting fires, roasting meats, and baking bread. The aroma of herbs, roasting meats, and baked goods fills the hallways, hinting at the richness to come. Spices and preservation continue to shape the flavor and availability of meals. Salted meats, dried fish, and pickled vegetables ensure that even as fresh ingredients fade, sustenance remains. Herbs grown in gardens, carefully tended, provide both flavor and medicinal benefits. For the wealthy, exotic spices travel across long distances, transforming meats and pastries into delicacies, while for the common folk, simple herbs and well-prepared grains provide comfort and energy. Both approaches reflect knowledge, resourcefulness, and a deep respect for the ingredients at hand. Beverages are an essential part of the daily routine. Ale remains a staple for peasants, its mild alcohol content safe and nourishing. Wine, often imported, is enjoyed by the wealthy, sometimes sweetened or spiced to complement the meal. Mead, brewed from honey, offers a sweet treat for special occasions or moments of rest. Drinks are more than quenching thirst. They are part of ritual, connection, and celebration, marking pauses in the daily labor and bringing people together. Seasonal rhythms continue to govern life. Spring offers fresh herbs and vegetables. Summer brings fruits in abundance. Autumn provides grains, nuts, and preserved foods. And winter relies on stored staples and preserved meats. Every household, whether modest or grand, relies on careful planning, storage, and preparation to ensure survival. Meals reflect the seasons, the cycles of planting and harvest, and the intimate knowledge of nature passed down through generations. Imagine now a peasant family taking a brief pause from labor to enjoy bread and pottage under the sun, the sounds of the village around them, the scent of herbs and freshly turned soil filling the air. At the same time, in a castle, servants set a small table for a light refreshment, while cooks worked tirelessly to prepare the evening banquet. Two worlds divided by wealth and privilege, yet united by the same essential thread: food, sustenance, and the rhythm it brings to life. And so, as the sun begins to dip lower, signaling the approach of evening, the people of the Middle Ages continue their labors, nourished and connected through the simple yet profound act of eating. Food is never merely survival. It is care, culture, and continuity, weaving together families, communities, and generations in the quiet yet enduring heartbeat of daily life. As evening slowly approaches, the village begins to prepare for the close of another day, and the kitchen once again becomes the heart of the home. The smell of bread, herbs, and simmering pottage drifts from cottages, blending with the crisp air and the earthy scent of freshly tilled soil. In every home, food is more than nourishment. It is a marker of rhythm, care, and continuity, connecting generations and communities in the quiet pulse of daily life. For peasant families, the evening meal is a time of gathering and sharing. The day's labor may be heavy, but the sight of a steaming pot, bread fresh from the oven, and perhaps a scrap of meat or a few beans provides comfort and sustenance. Children sit eagerly, hands ready to tear chunks of bread or dip spoons into the thick pottage. Every bite is an experience of warmth, flavor, and satisfaction, and each meal strengthens bonds between family members. It is both practical and deeply human, a simple celebration of life itself. In noble households, the evening meal can be a grand affair, with tables laden with roasted meats, pies, fruits, cheeses, and pastries, often accompanied by wine or ale. Servants bustle about, attending to every detail, ensuring that dishes are served promptly, and that each guest has what they need. The aroma of roasting meat mingles with sweet pastries and fresh bread, creating a tapestry of scents that fills the hall. Conversation, music, and laughter accompany the food, turning the meal into both nourishment and entertainment. Herbs and spices continue to play a central role in flavoring meals. Parsley, sage, thyme, and onions are staples in peasant kitchens, enhancing the taste of humble dishes. For the wealthy, exotic spices like pepper, cinnamon, and saffron transform ordinary ingredients into extraordinary creations. These flavors not only delight the palate, but signal status, trade connections, and knowledge of the wider world. In both simple and luxurious kitchens, the thoughtful use of flavor reflects care, creativity, and deep understanding of ingredients. Preservation methods remain essential. Salted meats, dried grains, and pickled vegetables ensure sustenance through long winters and periods when fresh produce is scarce. Ale and wine provide safe, nourishing drinks, while honey preserves fruits and adds sweetness to meals. Each method reflects ingenuity, skill, and respect for resources, ensuring that even lean times do not break the continuity of life. Families rely on these practices to bridge the gap between harvests, creating a rhythm of preparation, consumption, and storage that sustains them throughout the year. Imagine walking through a medieval village at this hour. The sun dips low, casting long shadows across cottages and fields. Smoke rises from chimneys, carrying the scent of bread, herbs, and cooked meats into the cool evening air. Families gather in their kitchens, sharing quiet conversation and the comfort of a warm meal. Across the countryside, castle kitchens remain busy, preparing for lavish feasts or ensuring that the household is well nourished. Despite differences in wealth, the essential connection to food remains universal. A daily anchor, a reminder of survival, and a source of comfort. The evening meal also marks a pause, a moment of reflection after a day of labor. The rhythm of life slows, and people take stock of their work, their harvests, and their preparations for tomorrow. The simple act of eating together, whether in modest cottages or grand halls, reinforces community and family ties. Food carries meaning beyond sustenance. It embodies tradition, effort, and shared experience. As night falls, the hearth glows warmly, meals are finished, and the quiet settles over the village. Even in the grand halls of castles, the bustle of dinner subsides, and peace spreads across rooms that earlier hosted feasts. Across the Middle Ages, from peasant homes to noble estates, food connects all lives, shapes daily routines, and offers both comfort and continuity, linking people to the earth, to each other, and to the cycles of life that have endured through generations. Night falls over the medieval village, wrapping cottages and fields in shadow, and the flickering glow of hearths illuminates the interiors of homes. In every house, the day ends as it began, with food at its center. The warmth of the fire, the smell of pottage or fresh bread, and the quiet conversation of family members create a rhythm of life that is at once practical and comforting. Food is never merely sustenance. It is a bridge between work and rest, labor and leisure, day and night. In peasant homes, the evening meal is simple yet sustaining. Thick pottage, bread, and perhaps a small portion of meat or beans fill wooden bowls, providing the energy needed for work the following day. Herbs from gardens, parsley, sage, thyme, or garlic, enhance flavor and offer health benefits. Families gather around the hearth, dipping spoons into the bubbling stew, breaking bread, and sharing quiet conversation. The act of eating together strengthens bonds, instills routines, and provides a sense of security in a world that is often unpredictable. In noble households, the evening meal can be an elaborate affair. Tables are laden with roasted meats, pies, fresh fruits, cheeses, and sweet pastries. Wine or ale is poured into goblets, music plays softly, and conversation rises above the clatter of plates and utensils. Servants attend with precision, ensuring that every dish is served at the right moment, that fires are stoked, and that guests are attended to. Even here, the essence of food is the same: nourishment, connection, and the reinforcement of family and social ties. Spices and herbs play central roles in flavoring these meals. Simple herbs in peasant homes elevate everyday dishes, providing taste, aroma, and medicinal properties. In castles, exotic spices such as pepper, cinnamon, saffron, and cloves transform meals into symbols of status, wealth, and worldly knowledge. These flavors are more than decoration. They are a reflection of culture, trade, and the painstaking care invested in every meal, whether humble or grand. Preservation techniques remain vital. Salted meats and fish, dried grains, and pickled vegetables sustain families through winter months when fresh produce is unavailable. Ale and wine provide safe, nourishing liquids, while honey preserves fruits and adds sweetness to meals. Each method represents ingenuity, foresight, and a deep understanding of the cycles of nature. In both modest and wealthy homes, the careful management of food ensures survival and continuity across seasons. Imagine the scene. In a modest cottage, the family finishes their evening meal, the last pieces of bread consumed, and the pottage pot, now empty. The fire crackles, casting dancing shadows on the walls. Outside, the village is quiet. Only the distant sound of animals or the faint rustle of wind breaking the silence. Far away in a castle, the night draws in after a lavish feast. Music quiets, guests depart, and servants tend to the remaining tasks. Despite differences in wealth, every home shares the same fundamental experience. Food as comfort, as necessity, and as a bond linking past, present, and future. The evening meal also offers reflection. After a day of labor in fields or halls, the act of sitting together and sharing sustenance allows individuals to pause, to connect, and to prepare for the day ahead. Even in the simplest cottages, this moment is sacred, a time of gratitude, conversation, and repose. Meals carry memory, tradition, and knowledge, teaching children the value of labor, the importance of sharing, and the rhythms of life that endure across generations. As darkness deepens, the village sleeps, the hearths burn low, and food continues to influence life in quiet, unseen ways. It binds families, structures days, and sustains communities. From humble pottage to lavish banquets, the role of food in the Middle Ages is constant, profound, and unbroken. A story told in every bite, in every meal, and in the enduring cycles of preparation, consumption, and connection that define human existence. The night is deep, and the village lies quiet under a blanket of stars. Yet even in darkness, the memory of the day's meals lingers in every home. The hearths have cooled, but their warmth remains in the walls and hearts of those who gathered around them. Food, prepared with care and shared with loved ones, leaves an imprint beyond the belly. It nurtures connection, provides comfort, and sustains the spirit in ways that last long after the meal is done. In peasant cottages, the simplicity of the evening meal reflects the rhythm of life. A pot of pottage, thick with grains, vegetables, and occasionally a scrap of meat, warms the family as they eat. Bread, broken by hand, accompanies the stew, soaking up flavors and adding substance. Herbs from the garden, parsley, sage, thyme, or leeks, enhance the taste and offer subtle medicinal benefits. The children listen to stories or songs as they eat, laughter and quiet conversation mixing with the crackle of the fire, weaving a sense of belonging and safety into every bite. Noble households maintain a different pace. After a sumptuous evening meal of roasted meats, pies, fresh fruits, cheeses, and sweetened pastries, the servants clear the tables and attend to tasks. Yet the sense of ritual remains. Wine or ale accompanies every course, music softens the air, and the ambiance is rich with refinement. Every meal tells a story of wealth, taste, and status, yet beneath the grandeur is the same fundamental human need: nourishment, satisfaction, and connection. Spices and herbs continue to reveal the contrasts between social classes. In peasant homes, garden herbs flavor and elevate modest dishes, offering variety and subtle pleasure. In noble kitchens, pepper, cinnamon, saffron, cloves, and ginger transform ordinary meat and pastries into extravagant delights, reflecting trade networks, wealth, and cultural sophistication. The careful use of flavoring demonstrates skill, knowledge, and creativity, regardless of social rank. Preservation is crucial across all households. Salted meats and fish, dried grains, and pickled vegetables allow survival through cold winters or times of scarcity. Honey preserves fruits and adds sweetness, while ale and wine provide safe hydration. The techniques of preservation reflect foresight, ingenuity, and an intimate understanding of nature's cycles, connecting families to the earth, the seasons, and each other. Imagine a peasant family finishing their evening meal, the last bites of pottage gone, breadcrumbs scattered on the table. The children stretch and yawn, the adults converse softly, and the fire burns low, illuminating the humble home with its final glow. Outside, the village is silent, except for the occasional bark of a dog or the rustle of leaves. In a distant castle, after a lavish banquet, the hall's quiet. Servants complete final chores, and the day comes to a restful close. In both worlds, despite vast differences in wealth and luxury, food remains the link, the shared human experience, the center of life and memory. Meals are not only about survival, they carry stories, rituals, and teachings. Children learn the value of labor, the importance of preparation, and the satisfaction of sharing. Families cultivate traditions around food, passing knowledge of herbs, preservation, and cooking techniques through generations. Meals shape the structure of daily life, offer moments of reflection, and create bonds that endure beyond the individual, linking past and future, rich and poor, hearth and hall. As the village sleeps and the castle rests, the influence of food continues silently. It structures days, guides routines, and nurtures both body and spirit. From simple pottage to elaborate feasts, the story of medieval food is a story of survival, community, culture, and care, quietly shaping lives and leaving an enduring legacy in every bite, every meal, and every shared moment around the table. The night deepens, yet in the medieval village, the life of food continues to echo through every home. Even as sleep settles over cottages and castles alike, the memory of meals sustains warmth, comfort, and connection. Food is never merely survival. It is a reflection of care, community, and the cycles of life, quietly weaving itself into the fabric of daily existence. In peasant cottages, preparation for the next day begins even as the evening ends. Leftovers from the evening meal are stored carefully. A bit of bread wrapped in cloth, a portion of pottage cooled and set aside, herbs hung to dry. These simple acts ensure that nourishment is available when the day begins again. Each action reflects foresight, practicality, and an intimate understanding of the land and seasons. The family sits close to the hearth, enjoying the fading warmth, exchanging quiet conversation, and feeling the comfort of togetherness. In the kitchens of nobility, preparation is equally meticulous, but on a grander scale. Servants and cooks manage vast stores of ingredients, Fresh fruits, meats, cheeses, spices, and grains. Roasts are checked, pies arranged, and sauces simmered to perfection for the following day. Even in the quiet of night, the kitchen hums with purpose, a testament to the importance of nourishment and ritual. Wine and ale are stored, honeyed treats preserved, and herbs carefully tended. The effort reflects the centrality of food to both survival and social order, ensuring continuity and comfort for all members of the household. Herbs and spices continue to shape meals across social classes. Simple herbs in peasant homes, parsley, sage, thyme, onions, enhance the flavor of modest dishes while offering subtle medicinal benefits. In castles, exotic spices like pepper, cinnamon, saffron, and cloves transform ordinary ingredients into elaborate feasts, demonstrating wealth, trade, and sophistication. The careful use of flavoring, whether humble or extravagant, reflects knowledge, skill, and an enduring respect for the art of cooking. Preservation remains essential for survival. Salted meats, dried fish, grains, and pickled vegetables bridge the gap between seasons, ensuring that families can endure the harsh months. Honey preserves fruits and adds sweetness, while ale and wine provide safe hydration. These methods highlight the ingenuity and foresight of medieval households, connecting daily labor with long-term survival and linking present needs to future sustenance. Imagine now a peasant family tucking in for the night, the hearth glowing faintly as the last meal is remembered. The children yawn, the adults converse softly, and the fire casts dancing shadows across the walls. Outside, the village is silent, punctuated only by distant animals or rustling leaves. In contrast, a castle quietly settles after a lavish feast. The servants complete final chores, the halls are hushed, and the night claims the stone walls. In both places, food is central. It is comfort, memory, and a rhythm that shapes the passage of time. Evening and night meals also serve as moments of reflection. As the day ends, families consider the work accomplished, the food prepared, and the connections shared. Children learn the value of effort, patience, and sharing. Meals embody tradition, passing down knowledge of cooking, preservation, and care from one generation to the next. Every bite, every dish, is both sustenance and lesson, shaping daily life and the continuity of culture. As darkness deepens over the countryside, food remains a constant thread, binding people to each other, to the earth, and to the rhythm of life itself. From the humblest pottage to the most elaborate banquet, the act of eating sustains body and spirit, reinforcing the enduring patterns of work, rest, and connection that define medieval life, and ultimately, the human experience. The first light of dawn creeps gently across the medieval village, touching rooftops, fields, and the winding paths that link homes to gardens and pastures. Even before the sun fully rises, the smell of bread baking and herbs drying in cottages signals the start of another day. Life is structured around food, its preparation, its sharing, and its consumption. And it remains the quiet pulse that drives daily routines and sustains families across generations. In peasant households, the morning meal is simple yet essential. A slice of bread, dipped in ale or accompanied by cheese, provides energy for a day of labor in the fields. Sometimes, porridge made of oats or barley offers warmth and sustenance before long hours of planting, harvesting, or tending livestock. Children sit close to the fire, listening to their parents while eating, learning the rhythm of daily work and the value of nourishment. Each meal, no matter how humble, carries the care, effort, and ingenuity of the household. In noble homes, the morning meal is more elaborate. Bread, fresh from the oven, is accompanied by fruits, nuts, and sometimes sweetened pastries. Dairy products like cheese and butter are plentiful, and wine or ale might be served even at this early hour. Servants move swiftly through the kitchens, ensuring that each member of the household receives what they need. The aroma of roasting meats or frying eggs fills the air, signaling abundance, preparation, and refinement. Even amidst luxury, food remains a means of connection, providing energy and fostering bonds between family members, allies, and guests. Herbs and spices reveal the contrasts in daily life. Garden-grown herbs such as parsley, thyme, sage, and garlic flavor meals for peasants, offering variety and subtle medicinal benefits. In castles, exotic spices like pepper, cinnamon, saffron, and cloves transform ordinary dishes into extraordinary feasts, reflecting wealth, trade, and cultural sophistication. Yet across all households, the preparation of meals requires skill, knowledge, and care, demonstrating a shared human need to nourish both body and spirit. Preservation techniques are central to survival. Salted meats, dried grains, pickled vegetables, and stored fruits ensure sustenance through the changing seasons. Honey preserves sweetness, while ale and wine provide safe hydration. These methods represent ingenuity, foresight, and the intimate knowledge of nature's cycles. By understanding how to store and prepare food, families of all classes maintain continuity, bridging the gap between harvests and lean months and ensuring that life carries on without interruption. Markets and taverns supplement daily meals, providing ingredients and community interaction. Villagers travel to buy or barter for bread, cheese, salted meats, or fresh produce. Taverns offer meals and drinks for travelers and laborers, fostering exchange and connection. These spaces reinforce the social and economic bonds of medieval life, creating a shared culture around the act of eating and providing sustenance for both body and community. Imagine a peasant family gathering for their morning meal, the aroma of freshly baked bread mingling with the crisp air and the scent of herbs. Children eat eagerly, their laughter blending with birdsong and distant farm sounds. Meanwhile, in a castle, servants prepare a more elaborate breakfast, ensuring that each course meets the expectations of wealth and refinement. Despite differences in scale and luxury, the essential role of food, nourishment, connection, and comfort remains the same. As the day progresses, the memory of the morning meal fuels labor, shapes interactions, and structures life. In the Middle Ages, food is more than survival. It is a marker of routine, a source of pleasure, and a means of connecting generations. Every bite tells a story, every meal strengthens bonds, and every act of preparation reflects the enduring relationship between humans, their environment, and each other. As the sun climbs higher in the sky, the medieval village is fully awake, bustling with activity, yet the memory of breakfast lingers in every home. The simple act of eating has prepared both peasants and nobles for the labors and tasks ahead, giving strength, warmth, and focus. Food continues to shape the rhythm of life, linking generations, sustaining work, and nurturing the human spirit through every meal, however humble or elaborate. For peasants, the mid-morning hours are spent in the fields, gardens, or tending livestock. A light snack might accompany this labor. A piece of bread, a few dried fruits, or a small portion of cheese. These simple items provide sustenance, allowing energy to be maintained without interrupting work. Children help in small ways, learning the responsibilities of daily life and the importance of preparation and nourishment. Even the most basic foods are infused with care, effort, and understanding of the land, reflecting a deep connection between people and their environment. In noble households, the day may begin with a longer morning meal or refreshment, often accompanied by conversation, planning, or instruction for servants. Bread, fruits, cheeses, and occasionally sweetened pastries are served alongside wine or ale. The kitchen hums with activity, preparing for later meals, roasting meats, and baking bread. Even as labor continues throughout the day, food remains central, providing both energy and social structure. The movement of ingredients, the work of cooks, and the timing of meals reinforce the hierarchy, organization, and care that define life in wealthier homes. Herbs and spices remain an integral part of culinary life. Parsley, thyme, sage, leeks, and onions flavor daily meals in peasant homes, enhancing taste and offering subtle medicinal benefits. In castles, exotic spices like pepper, cinnamon, saffron, and cloves transform meats, breads, and pastries, signaling status, sophistication, and worldly knowledge. Whether humble or extravagant, the careful use of flavor reflects care, skill, and cultural understanding, illustrating the value of both nourishment and artistry. Preservation techniques ensure continuity across seasons. Salted meats, dried grains, pickled vegetables, and stored fruits provide sustenance during lean months. Honey preserves sweetness, ale and wine offer hydration, and these methods demonstrate foresight and ingenuity. Through careful storage and preparation, medieval families managed the cycles of nature, ensuring survival and continuity in a world where the success of harvests is never guaranteed. Markets and communal spaces supplement daily life. Peasants travel to markets for fresh bread, vegetables, or salted meats, while taverns offer simple meals and drinks for travelers or laborers. These gatherings foster community, exchange, and shared culture, reinforcing the social significance of food. In castles, markets and provisions ensure abundance and variety, linking the household to broader networks of trade and supply. Across classes, the connection between food, labor, and society is evident, shaping daily routines and sustaining life. Imagine the scene. In a small cottage, a peasant family pauses briefly, enjoying bread and cheese under the warm sun, while in a castle, a noble household partakes of fruits and pastries, with servants moving efficiently to maintain order. Two different worlds, yet both anchored by food, nourishment, and the rhythms it provides. Each meal reflects preparation, effort, and care, creating a continuity that sustains life through seasons, labor, and generations. As the day progresses, the presence of food continues to influence routines. Mid-morning sustenance connects past meals to those yet to come, strengthens the body for labor, and reminds people of the enduring bonds between family, community, and the earth. In the Middle Ages, food is more than survival. It is culture, care, and continuity, a quiet force shaping the life of every individual and household. As midday approaches, the medieval village reaches its peak of activity, and the thought of the next meal carries villagers through labor and effort. Food, prepared with care in every home, remained central to life. Nourishment, comfort, and rhythm intertwined with the cycles of work and community. From humble cottages to grand castles, the preparation and consumption of meals shapes the flow of each day, connecting people to one another and to the land. For peasant families, the midday meal is often the largest of the day. Pottage, thick with grains, vegetables, and occasionally scraps of meat, is served in wooden bowls. Bread accompanies the stew, torn by hand and shared among all. Herbs from gardens, such as parsley, thyme, or onions, enhance flavor and provide subtle health benefits. Children gather around, eager to eat, while parents discuss the day's work or plans for the fields. Every meal carries care, patience, and the knowledge passed through generations about what the land can provide and how to prepare it. In noble households, midday meals can be elaborate, reflecting wealth, refinement, and the artistry of cooks. Roasted meats, pies with spiced fillings, fresh fruits, cheeses, and sweet pastries fill the tables. Wine flows in goblets, and servants move efficiently, ensuring that every dish is served at the proper moment. The aroma of roasting meat mingles with the sense of fresh bread and herbs, creating a sensory experience that celebrates both nourishment and social status. Despite the differences in scale, the essential purpose of food remains the same: energy, satisfaction, and the reinforcement of human connection. Spices and herbs continue to define the character of meals. In peasant homes, herbs such as sage, thyme, and parsley flavor everyday dishes, making simple meals more enjoyable and adding healthful properties. In castles, exotic spices like saffron, pepper, cloves, and cinnamon transform ordinary ingredients into extraordinary feasts, signaling trade connections, wealth, and culinary knowledge. Across all social classes, the careful use of flavor demonstrates respect for food, ingenuity, and skill, showing that even basic meals can carry richness and meaning. Preservation methods remain vital. Salted meats, dried grains, and pickled vegetables allow families to endure periods of scarcity, bridging the gap between harvests. Honey preserves fruits, ale, and wine, provides safe hydration, and these practices reflect foresight, preparation, and a deep understanding of natural cycles. Both peasants and nobles rely on these techniques to ensure continuity, safety, and nourishment, linking daily life to broader patterns of survival and care. Markets, trade, and communal spaces supplement meals, offering fresh produce, grains, and salted meats. Peasants travel to markets, barter, or purchase items needed for their households, while taverns provide simple meals and drinks for travelers. These spaces foster social connection, exchange, and the sharing of knowledge. In castles, markets, and provisions ensure a diverse diet and abundance, connecting the household to trade networks and distant regions. Food binds society together, shaping both economic and social life. Picture a peasant family taking a brief rest, eating pottage and bread in the warm midday sun, laughter mingling with birdsong, and distant farm sounds. In a distant castle, nobles enjoy roasted meats and spiced pies, while servants maintain order and attention to every detail. Across wealth and status, the fundamental connection to food remains universal: nourishment, comfort, and a rhythm that structures daily life. As the day continues, the memory of meals fuels work, sustains energy, and reinforces social bonds. In the Middle Ages, food is far more than survival. It is ritual, tradition, and continuity. Every bite, every preparation, and every shared meal carries meaning, teaching children, connecting families, and anchoring the daily rhythm of life, ensuring that human culture and care endure through generations. As the afternoon sun climbs higher, life in the medieval village continues with purpose, and the anticipation of future meals shapes the rhythm of the day. The preparation, sharing, and enjoyment of food remains central to every household, guiding labor, social interaction, and the flow of daily life. From modest cottages to grand halls, meals provide more than sustenance. They sustain connection, tradition, and the human spirit. In peasant homes, the afternoon often includes a small meal or snack to refresh workers after hours in the fields. Pottage, bread, cheese, or dried fruits provide energy without interrupting the flow of labor. Children gather under the shade of trees or near the hearth, listening to stories or assisting in small tasks, while parents continue their work with a sense of purpose, fueled by nourishment. Every bite carries the effort of labor, the bounty of the land, and the quiet comfort of a shared family life. In noble households, afternoon refreshments may include lighter dishes, fruits, bread, or pastries, often accompanied by wine or ale. The kitchen remains busy, with servants attending to preparation for the evening meal, roasting meats, baking bread, and ensuring that all supplies are ready. The aroma of herbs, freshly baked bread, and roasting meat fills the air, a sensory reminder of both abundance and careful planning. Even in luxury, food continues to shape daily routines, marking pauses and sustaining energy throughout the day. Herbs and spices continue to differentiate the meals of peasants and nobles. Garden herbs such as parsley, thyme, and sage enhance simple dishes for peasants, providing flavor and medicinal properties. In castles, exotic spices like saffron, pepper, cinnamon, and cloves transform meals into symbols of wealth, trade, and culinary sophistication. The careful use of flavor reflects knowledge, skill, and care, whether in humble cottages or lavish halls. Every meal tells a story of connection to land, labor, and culture. Preservation methods remain vital to survival. Salted meats, dried grains, pickled vegetables, and stored fruits allow families to endure periods when fresh food is scarce. Honey preserves sweetness, while ale and wine offer safe hydration. These techniques demonstrate foresight and ingenuity, connecting households to the cycles of nature and ensuring continuity across seasons. Both peasants and nobles rely on these practices to maintain nourishment and stability, bridging the gap between harvests and lean times. Markets, taverns, and communal spaces supplement daily life. Peasants travel to barter or purchase bread, cheese, or salted meats, while taverns provide simple meals and social interaction. In castles, markets, and provisions ensure abundance and variety, linking households to trade networks. Across social classes, food reinforces community, sustains labor, and shapes daily life, showing that nourishment is as much social and cultural as it is physical. Imagine a peasant family resting briefly, eating bread and pottage in the warm afternoon sun, laughter mingling with the distant sounds of farm life. Meanwhile, in a castle, servants lay out light refreshments for nobles, while the kitchen hums with preparation for the evening banquet. Despite differences in scale and luxury, the essential role of food remains the same: energy, connection, and rhythm that structure daily life. As the afternoon fades into evening, the memory of meals guides both body and mind. In the Middle Ages, food is more than mere survival. It is ritual, culture, and continuity. Each meal strengthens bonds, teaches children, and sustains life. Every preparation and every shared bite reflects care, skill, and connection to both community and the cycles of the natural world, ensuring that the story of human life continues from one generation to the next. As the sun begins its descent toward the horizon, the medieval village slows, and the thought of the evening meal brings anticipation and comfort. Food has shaped the rhythm of the day, from dawn to midday to afternoon, and now prepares both peasants and nobles for rest and reflection. Across cottages and castles alike, nourishment is more than survival. It is ritual, connection, and the quiet anchor of life. In peasant homes, the evening meal is awaited eagerly. Pottage, thick with grains, vegetables, and occasionally a small portion of meat, fills wooden bowls. Bread, torn by hand, accompanies the stew, soaking up flavors and providing substance. Herbs like parsley, thyme, and sage enhance taste and carry subtle medicinal properties, connecting families to the land and its bounty. Children gather around the hearth, listening to quiet conversation, learning about food, work, and family traditions, while adults share stories of the day's labor and plans for tomorrow. In noble households, the evening meal can be a grand affair. Tables are laden with roasted meats, pies, fresh fruits, cheeses, and sweet pastries. Wine flows in goblets, while servants ensure that every dish is served with precision. The aroma of herbs, roasted meats, and baked bread fills the hall, signaling abundance, refinement, and the artistry of the kitchen. Even amidst luxury, the purpose of food remains the same: sustenance, satisfaction, and reinforcement of family and social bonds. Spices and herbs continued to shape the character of meals. Garden herbs in peasant homes flavor and enhance everyday dishes, while exotic spices such as saffron, pepper, cloves, and cinnamon elevate dishes in castles into displays of wealth, trade, and culinary knowledge. Across all social classes, the careful use of flavor demonstrates attention, skill, and care, transforming simple sustenance into meaningful nourishment and a reflection of culture. Preservation remains vital. Salted meats, dried grains, pickled vegetables, and stored fruits ensure that families can endure lean months. Honey preserves fruits and adds sweetness, while ale and wine provide safe hydration. These practices show foresight, resourcefulness, and a deep understanding of natural cycles, connecting daily labor with long-term survival. Both peasant cottages and noble halls rely on these methods to maintain continuity, safety, and sustenance. Markets and communal spaces continue to play an important role. Peasants purchase or barter for bread, cheese, and salted meats, while taverns offer simple meals for travelers and laborers. In castles, markets and provisions guarantee abundance and variety. Across all classes, food sustains not only bodies, but also social and economic relationships, linking households to community, trade, and culture. Imagine a peasant family finishing their evening meal, the hearth glowing softly, children yawning, adults conversing quietly. Outside, the village is calm, with only distant animals and the rustling of trees breaking the silence. In a distant castle, the grand hall is cleared, servants complete their tasks, and the household settles into evening quiet. Across differences in wealth and status, the connection to food, its preparation, sharing, and enjoyment remains universal, providing comfort, structure, and continuity. As night approaches, the memory of meals, the aroma of herbs, and the warmth of hearths guide the village into rest. In the Middle Ages, food is not simply survival, it is ritual, tradition, and continuity. Every meal teaches, sustains, and connects, ensuring that life, culture, and care endure from one day to the next, linking people to each other, to the earth, and to the cycles of human existence. Night falls slowly over the medieval village, and the final preparations for the evening meal are underway. In every home, the rhythm of food continues to structure life, linking work, family, and rest. Across cottages and castles alike, the act of preparing, sharing, and consuming meals reflects care, tradition, and human connection, creating continuity that binds generations together. In peasant homes, the evening meal is often modest but satisfying. Pottage thick with grains, vegetables, and occasional scraps of meat fills wooden bowls. Bread is torn by hand and shared, soaking up flavors and providing substance. Herbs like parsley, thyme, sage, and leeks enhance taste and offer subtle health benefits. Families gather close to the hearth, enjoying warmth and conversation. Children listen attentively, absorbing stories of work, life, and traditions, while adults exchange the events of the day and discuss plans for tomorrow. Every meal carries care, effort, and an intimate connection to the land and its cycles. In noble households, the evening meal is often more elaborate. Tables are laden with roasted meats, pies, fresh fruits, cheeses, and sweet pastries. And servants move efficiently to ensure that every dish is served at the proper moment. The aroma of herbs, roasted meats, and baked bread fills the halls, signaling abundance and refinement. Even amidst luxury, the essential role of food remains nourishment, satisfaction, and the reinforcement of social bonds and family ties. Spices and herbs continue to shape the character of meals. Garden herbs enhance everyday dishes in peasant homes, while exotic spices such as saffron, pepper, cloves, and cinnamon transform meals in castles into symbols of wealth, trade, and sophistication. Across all social classes, flavoring demonstrates care, knowledge, and skill, turning even simple sustenance into meaningful nourishment and cultural expression. Preservation remains vital for survival. Salted meats, dried grains, pickled vegetables, and stored fruits ensure sustenance through lean periods. Honey preserves sweetness, while ale and wine provide safe hydration. These practices demonstrate foresight, resourcefulness, and understanding of natural cycles, linking daily labor to long-term survival. Both peasants and nobles rely on these methods to maintain continuity, security, and nourishment. Markets and communal spaces supplement daily life. Peasants visit markets to barter or purchase bread, cheese, and salted meats, while taverns provide meals and social interaction. In castles, markets and provisions ensure variety and abundance, linking households to trade networks in distant regions. Food not only sustains the body, but also strengthens social and economic bonds, connecting households to community, commerce, and culture. Imagine a peasant family finishing their evening meal, the hearth glowing softly, children yawning, adults speaking quietly. Outside, the village is calm, the air filled with the faint sounds of animals and rustling leaves. In a distant castle, the grand hall is cleared. Servants complete final chores, and the household settles into evening quiet. Across differences in wealth and status, the connection to food, its preparation, sharing, and enjoyment, remains universal, providing comfort, structure, and continuity. As the night deepens, the memory of meals, the aroma of herbs, and the warmth of hearths guide the village into rest. In the Middle Ages, food is not merely survival. It is ritual, tradition, and continuity. Each meal teaches, sustains, and connects, ensuring that life, culture, and care endure from one generation to the next, linking people to each other, to the earth, and to the rhythms of human existence. The night deepens over the medieval village, and the quiet hum of daily life gives way to rest. Yet, even as people sleep, the memory of meals lingers, shaping the rhythm of days, guiding labor, and reinforcing connections between families, neighbors, and communities. Food, whether simple or lavish, remains central to life, reflecting care, tradition, and the cycles of work and rest. In peasant cottages, the final meal of the day is both practical and comforting. Pottage, bread, and occasional cheese nourish the body after a long day of labor. Herbs from the garden, parsley, thyme, sage, add flavor and subtle medicinal properties, connecting the family to the land. Children settle near the hearth, listening to stories or singing softly, while adults discuss the day's work and plans for the morrow. Every meal carries effort, care, and the knowledge of generations, forming the backbone of survival and community life. In noble households, evening meals can be grand, reflecting both wealth and the skill of cooks. Tables are filled with roasted meats, pies, cheeses, fruits, and sweet pastries. Wine flows in goblets, and servants ensure that every dish is served properly. The aromas of herbs, roasted meats, and baked bread fill the halls, creating a sensory experience that celebrates abundance, refinement, and the art of cooking. Even amidst luxury, the essential role of food remains: nourishment, satisfaction, and the reinforcement of family and social bonds. Spices and herbs continue to shape meals. Garden herbs flavor everyday dishes in peasant homes, enhancing taste and offering subtle health benefits. In castles, exotic spices like saffron, pepper, cloves, and cinnamon elevate dishes into displays of wealth, trade, and culinary knowledge. Across social classes, the careful use of flavor demonstrates skill, attention, and care, turning even simple sustenance into meaningful nourishment and cultural expression. Preservation remains a cornerstone of survival. Salted meats, dried grains, pickled vegetables, and stored fruits provide sustenance during times of scarcity. Honey preserves fruits and adds sweetness, while ale and wine ensure safe hydration. These methods reflect foresight, resourcefulness, and an intimate understanding of the cycles of nature. Both peasants and nobles rely on these practices to maintain continuity, security, and nourishment across seasons. Markets, taverns, and communal spaces supplement daily meals. Peasants travel to barter or purchase bread, cheese, and salted meats, while taverns provide meals and social interaction. In castles, markets, and provisions ensure variety and abundance, connecting households to trade networks and distant regions. Food sustains not only bodies, but also social and economic relationships, linking households to the wider community and culture. Picture a peasant family finishing their evening meal, the hearth glowing softly, children yawning, adults speaking quietly. Outside, the village rests, broken only by distant animal sounds and rustling leaves. In a distant castle, the grand hall is cleared, servants complete their chores, and the household settles into quiet. Across wealth and status, the fundamental connection to food, its preparation, sharing, and enjoyment, remains universal, providing comfort, structure, and continuity. As the night stretches onward, the memory of meals, the scent of herbs, and the warmth of hearths carry villagers and nobles alike toward rest. In the Middle Ages, food is far more than survival. It is ritual, tradition, and continuity. Each meal nurtures, teaches, and connects, ensuring that life, culture, and care endure from one generation to the next, linking people to each other, to the land, and to the rhythms of existence. The night sky deepens over the medieval village, and the quiet of evening settles over cottages, gardens, and fields. Even as villagers and nobles rest, the influence of food continues to shape the rhythm of life. Each day's meals, simple or lavish, connect labor, community, and tradition, sustaining body and spirit alike. The memory of flavors, aromas, and shared moments carries forward into rest, preparing hearts and minds for the day ahead. In peasant homes, the final meal of the day is both comforting and practical. Pottage, thick with grains, vegetables, and sometimes small pieces of meat, fills wooden bowls. Bread is torn by hand, often dipped in ale or eaten with cheese, adding substance to the meal. Herbs such as parsley, thyme, sage, and leeks lend flavor and subtle medicinal qualities, linking families to the land and its cycles. Children sit close to the hearth, listening to quiet conversation or stories, learning the routines, skills, and traditions of their household. Adults discuss work completed and plans for the following day, imparting wisdom and fostering continuity. In noble households, evening meals can be elaborate. Tables groan under roasted meats, pies with spiced fillings, cheeses, fruits, and sweet pastries. Wine flows in goblets, while servants attend meticulously to each dish. The aroma of herbs, roasted meats, and fresh bread fills the halls, a sensory reminder of abundance and refinement. Despite the luxury, the fundamental purpose of food remains unchanged: nourishment, satisfaction, and the reinforcement of family and social bonds. Spices and herbs continue to distinguish meals across social classes. Garden-grown herbs flavor daily dishes in peasant homes, enhancing taste and offering health benefits. In castles, exotic spices such as saffron, pepper, cloves, and cinnamon elevate meals into displays of wealth, trade, and culinary expertise. Across all households, careful use of flavor reflects skill, attention, and care, transforming ordinary sustenance into meaningful nourishment and cultural expression. Preservation techniques remain central to survival. Salted meats, dried grains, pickled vegetables, and stored fruits ensure families endure lean seasons. Honey preserves fruits and adds sweetness, while ale and wine provide safe hydration. These methods reveal foresight, ingenuity, and understanding of natural cycles, bridging the gap between harvests and scarcity. Both peasant cottages and noble halls rely on these practices to maintain nourishment, security, and continuity across seasons. Markets, taverns, and communal spaces support daily meals. Peasants barter or purchase bread, cheese, and salted meats, while taverns provide meals and social connection for travelers and laborers. In castles, markets and provisions guarantee variety and abundance, linking households to trade networks and distant regions. Food sustains more than the body. It strengthens social bonds, reinforces economic connections, and anchors cultural traditions. Picture a peasant family finishing their evening meal, the hearth glowing warmly, children yawning, adults speaking softly. Outside, the village is quiet, with only distant animal sounds and rustling leaves. In a castle, the grand hall is cleared, servants complete final tasks, and the household settles into rest. Across differences in wealth and status, the fundamental relationship with food, its preparation, sharing, and enjoyment, remains universal, providing comfort, structure, and continuity. As night deepens, the memory of meals, the aroma of herbs, and the warmth of hearths guide the village into sleep. In the Middle Ages, food was not merely survival, it was ritual, culture, and continuity. Each meal nurtured, taught, and connected people, ensuring that life, care, and tradition endured from one generation to the next, linking individuals to each other, to the land, and to the rhythm of existence. The moon rises high over the medieval village, casting silver light on rooftops, fields, and winding pathways. Even as the village rests, the influence of food continues to ripple through life, shaping routines, family bonds, and social interactions. Meals, whether humble or grand, are central to human experience, linking labor, tradition, and community across generations. In peasant homes, the last meal of the day sustains both body and spirit. Pottage, hearty and warm, fills wooden bowls accompanied by bread and cheese. Herbs from the garden, parsley, sage, thyme, flavor dishes, and provide subtle medicinal benefits. Children sit close to the hearth, listening to stories or helping in small tasks, absorbing lessons about labor, care, and family traditions. Adults exchange the day's experiences, sharing knowledge and planning for tomorrow. Every meal carries intention, effort, and connection to the land, shaping the rhythm of life in tangible and meaningful ways. In noble households, evening meals are more elaborate. Tables hold roasted meats, pies filled with spiced fillings, fresh fruits, cheeses, and sweet pastries. Wine flows in goblets, while servants carefully attend to each dish, ensuring abundance and order. Aromas of roasted meats, herbs, and baked bread fill the air, creating a sensory tapestry of richness, skill, and refinement. Despite luxury, the purpose of meals remains unchanged: nourishment, pleasure, and the reinforcement of family and social bonds. Spices and herbs continue to define meals. Garden herbs enhance flavor and provide medicinal properties in peasant households, while exotic spices, saffron, pepper, cloves, cinnamon, elevate castle meals into expressions of wealth, trade, and culinary artistry. Across social strata, attention to flavor, preparation, and presentation reflects care, skill, and cultural knowledge, turning food into both sustenance and a means of connection. Preservation remains essential. Salted meats, dried grains, pickled vegetables, and stored fruits allow households to survive periods of scarcity. Honey preserves sweetness, while ale and wine provide safe hydration. These techniques demonstrate foresight, understanding of natural cycles, and careful management of resources. Markets, taverns, and communal spaces support daily life. Peasants barter or purchase bread, cheese, and salted meats, while taverns offer meals and social interaction for laborers and travelers. In castles, markets, and provisions ensure variety and abundance, connecting households to trade networks in distant regions. Food sustains bodies and reinforces social and economic bonds, anchoring the culture and rhythm of daily life. Picture a peasant family finishing their evening meal, the hearth glowing warmly, children yawning, adults conversing quietly. Outside, the village rests under a sky filled with stars, the quiet punctuated only by distant animals and rustling leaves. In a distant castle, servants complete their duties, the grand hall cleared, and the household settles into evening calm. Across differences in wealth and status, the connection to food, its preparation, sharing, and enjoyment remains universal, offering comfort, structure, and continuity. As night deepens, the memory of meals, the aroma of herbs, and the warmth of hearths guide villagers and nobles toward rest. In the Middle Ages, food was not merely survival, it was ritual, tradition, and continuity. Every meal nurtured, taught, and connected people, ensuring that life, culture, and care endured from one generation to the next, linking humans to each other, to the land, and to the rhythms of existence. The night sky blankets the medieval village in calm, and the final hours before dawn are quiet and reflective. Even as villagers sleep, the presence of food and the memories of daily meals continue to shape life, guiding routines, teaching lessons, and strengthening bonds within families and communities. Meals, whether simple or lavish, carry the essence of survival, culture, and care, linking generations across time. In peasant homes, the last meal of the day brings comfort and sustenance. Pottage, thick with grains, vegetables, and occasionally small pieces of meat, fills wooden bowls. Bread, torn by hand, accompanies the stew, soaking up flavors and providing energy for the next day. Herbs such as parsley, thyme, and sage add flavor and subtle medicinal properties, connecting families to the land and its cycles. Children gather near the hearth, listening to quiet conversations, absorbing knowledge of labor, care, and tradition, while adults discuss the day's work and plans for tomorrow. Every meal reflects effort, care, and the wisdom of generations, forming the backbone of peasant life. In noble households, evening meals can be elaborate affairs. Tables are laden with roasted meats, spiced pies, fresh fruits, cheeses, and sweet pastries. Wine flows in goblets, and servants attend meticulously to each dish. The aroma of herbs, roasted meats, and baked bread fills the halls, creating a sensory experience of abundance, refinement, and culinary skill. Even amidst luxury, the essential purpose of food remains the same: nourishment, enjoyment, and the reinforcement of social and familial bonds. Spices and herbs continue to differentiate meals. Garden herbs flavor everyday dishes in peasant homes, providing taste and medicinal benefits. In castles, exotic spices such as saffron, pepper, cloves, and cinnamon elevate meals into symbols of wealth, trade, and knowledge of distant lands. Across all social strata, the attention given to flavor, preparation, and presentation reflects care, skill, and cultural awareness, turning ordinary sustenance into meaningful nourishment and connection. Preservation techniques are vital to survival. Salted meats, dried grains, pickled vegetables, and stored fruits provide sustenance through lean months. Honey preserves sweetness, and ale and wine ensure safe hydration. These methods reveal foresight, ingenuity, and understanding of natural cycles, linking daily labor to long-term sustenance. Both peasants and nobles rely on these practices to maintain nourishment, continuity, and stability throughout the year. Markets, taverns, and communal spaces continue to play a vital role. Peasants barter or purchase bread, cheese, and salted meats, while taverns provide meals and social engagement for laborers and travelers. In castles, markets, and provisions ensure variety and abundance, connecting households to trade networks and distant regions. Food sustains bodies while reinforcing social and economic bonds, anchoring the rhythm of medieval life and cultural continuity. Imagine a peasant family completing their evening meal, the hearth glowing warmly, children yawning, adults speaking quietly. Outside, the village rests, the night air filled with soft animal sounds and the rustling of leaves. In a distant castle, servants finish tasks, the grand hall is cleared, and the household settles into evening calm. Across differences in wealth and status, the connection to food, its preparation, sharing, and enjoyment, remains universal, offering comfort, structure, and continuity. As the night deepens, the memory of meals, the aroma of herbs, and the warmth of hearths guide all toward rest. In the Middle Ages, food was not merely survival. It was ritual, tradition, and continuity. Each meal nurtured, taught, and connected people, ensuring that life, culture, and care endured from one generation to the next, linking humans to each other, to the land, and to the natural rhythms of existence. As the deepest hours of night settle over the medieval village, a sense of calm and completion fills every home. The day's labor has ended, and the rituals of meals, preparation, sharing, and consumption have guided villagers and nobles alike through their routines. Even in sleep, the presence of food and the memory of its flavors, aromas, and the warmth of shared tables continue to shape life, linking generations and preserving the rhythm of existence. In peasant cottages, the last meal of the day provides comfort and sustenance. Pottage, thick with grains, vegetables, and occasionally small pieces of meat, fills wooden bowls. Bread, torn by hand, accompanies the stew, soaking up flavor and providing energy for the coming day. Herbs such as parsley, thyme, sage, and leeks enhance taste while offering subtle medicinal benefits. Children gather near the hearth, listening to stories, helping with small tasks, or simply absorbing the lessons of daily life. Adults discuss the work of the day and plans for tomorrow, sharing wisdom and reinforcing traditions. Each meal reflects care, effort, and the accumulated knowledge of generations, forming the backbone of peasant life. In noble households, evening meals can be grand spectacles. Tables hold roasted meats, pies filled with spiced ingredients, fresh fruits, cheeses, and sweet pastries. Wine flows in goblets, while servants attend diligently to each dish. The aroma of roasted meats, herbs, and baked bread fills the hall, creating a sensory experience that celebrates abundance, refinement, and culinary skill. Yet, even amidst wealth and luxury, the fundamental purpose of food remains unchanged: nourishment, satisfaction, and the strengthening of family and social bonds. Spices and herbs continue to shape the character of meals. Garden herbs enhance everyday dishes in peasant homes, providing flavor and health benefits. In castles, exotic spices like saffron, pepper, cloves, and cinnamon elevate meals into symbols of wealth, trade, and culinary sophistication. Across all social classes, attention to preparation, flavor, and presentation reflects care, skill, and cultural knowledge, transforming sustenance into meaning, connection, and pleasure. Preservation is vital for survival. Salted meats, dried grains, pickled vegetables, and stored fruits provide nourishment through lean periods. Honey preserves sweetness, while ale and wine ensure safe hydration. These methods reveal foresight, ingenuity, and an understanding of seasonal cycles, connecting daily labor to long-term survival. Both peasants and nobles rely on these practices to maintain stability, nourishment, and continuity throughout the year. Markets, taverns, and communal spaces continue to sustain medieval life. Peasants visit markets to barter or purchase bread, cheese, and salted meats, while taverns provide simple meals and social connection for laborers and travelers. In castles, markets and provisions ensure abundance and variety, linking households to trade networks and distant regions. Food strengthens social, economic, and cultural bonds, anchoring life and community, whether in humble cottages or grand halls. Picture a peasant family finishing their evening meal, the hearth glowing warmly, children yawning, adults speaking quietly. Outside, the village rests under the starlit sky, broken only by distant animals and the gentle rustling of leaves. In a castle far away, servants finish their tasks. The grand hall is cleared and the household settles into calm. Across differences in wealth and status, the connection to food, its preparation, sharing, and enjoyment remains universal, providing comfort, structure, and continuity. As the night deepens and stars shimmer overhead, the memory of meals, the aroma of herbs, and the warmth of hearths guide villagers and nobles alike toward sleep. In the Middle Ages, food was far more than mere survival. It was ritual, culture, and continuity. Every meal nurtured, taught, and connected people, ensuring that life, tradition, and care endured from one generation to the next. Through the preparation, sharing, and enjoyment of meals, humans remained linked to each other, to the land, and to the steady rhythm of existence, carrying lessons of sustenance, connection, and compassion into the future. Now, dear listener, the story drifts quietly away like a candle's last gentle glow. Your eyes grow heavier, your breath deeper, and the soft rhythm of night carries you closer to sleep. Breathe in slowly, hold for a moment, and let it out gently. Feel the weight leave your body. With each breath, you sink deeper into calm and comfort. Another breath, slow and deep. Let your chest rise, then fall like a quiet wave. Your mind no longer needs to wander, for sleep has already found you. If you enjoyed tonight's journey, I kindly ask you to like, to leave a comment, and to subscribe so more stories may reach you and help you find rest again and again. Now, dear friend, let the night take you, let the dreams cradle you, and let your heart rest in peace. Good night.